After school, homework club, and martial arts club. Now, this is something that I've been trying to get off the ground in Chester for a few years. I spoke to the Labour MP, who is no longer with us. It was the before Labour MP, the fella who did stuff at the Christmas party that he shouldn't have been doing. Um, I think it was actually a business trip they were on, a political trip they were on. But anyway, he's no longer around. The Conservative PCC Police Crime Commissioner, I sent a thing to him through the Twitter email. You know, I replied to a tweet he said saying, "There's this. We're going to do a thing called Safer Streets. Get in touch." I said I had an idea for an after school club. He said, "Here's an email. Contact me there." About a year ago, I contacted him there. He then his people replied to me right up until November. In November, they turned around and said, "No, you can't do it through this email. It's got to be through the correct application process. You can still apply through that application process, but today's the final day of applying through that application process." As you can imagine, I wasn't overly happy that it had been the better part of 6 months before somebody had said, "You can't do it through this email," which is the email the very man himself gave me. But I digress. I'm not saying that the money that's available isn't actually going to go towards anything that's useful and will help the community. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if I wanted to make a case for that being the case, I've got a lot of evidence that that's the case. However, after school homework club, after school martial arts club, Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. till 6 p.m., we get kids that are struggling with their homework. Now, not every child has a safe, warm place to do their homework. Not every child has a safe, warm place to go to after school finishes. There's a story that was put to us through the Educare courses where it's sort of an amalgamation of different people's stories, but the general through line was a 15-year-old girl doesn't go home before 10 p.m. and she's out the door by 8 a.m. The reason being is that there is an abusive alcoholic who lives in her house, and she knows if she goes home before he passes out at about 9:30, there's a good chance that this person's going to yell at her, throw something at her. The general implication was other stuff would happen. The alcoholic usually gets up around 9 a.m., so she likes to be out the door by 8 a.m. Now, this person isn't getting any sleep when they're at home because what sleep they get isn't deep. So they're not sleeping properly. They're not able to go home and do their homework. They need a place to do their homework. The Office of National Statistics tells us that for the year ending March 2018, 21% of knife crime in England and Wales was committed by children aged 10 to 17, most of those incidents occurring between the hours of 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. This is very clearly kids with nowhere to go after school. Now, was there a rise in this age group at this time committing crime coinciding with all of the youth centres being closed down? I don't know. It's worth looking up. But how we got here is irrelevant. All we need to know is that we are here right now. So, Monday to Friday, 4 p.m. till 6 p.m., an after school homework club. The classes would be smaller because it wouldn't be for everybody. It would just be the kids that don't have somewhere to go. It would be run and observed by retired or semi-retired teachers. We could get help with by employing people who are training to be teachers or training to be teachers' assistants. If you've got maybe 12 to 15 kids in this class and you've got 2 or 3 adults supervising, you're basically bringing it down to no more than 5 kids per adult. If the kid is going through something, it's going to be easier for you as the adult to spot the signs of abuse if you're only looking after 5 kids than if you're looking after 30 plus. So not only are we taking the kids off the street where we're not letting them get into crime to begin with, but we're also now putting them in a situation where they're safe, they've got uh, adult supervision, and those adults are able to see and spot the signs of abuse if this kid's being abused at home or elsewhere. It also allows us to spot the signs of grooming. If any of these kids are being sort of recruited into gangs, there's a whole stuff with that with county lines and drug running and all this. Um, from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m., we would put them in an athletic club. I say martial arts because obviously that's where my grounding is. It would be very easy to just apply it as any type of athletics club. I know you can get the same discipline through all different sports. Me, myself, I'm leaning towards martial arts because that's what I know and that's what I would be able to teach. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. till maybe 7, would be adult literacy, adult numeracy. A lot of the times we see kids don't really value their homework because they get stuck on a question. They go, "Can you help me with this?" And the parent or guardian goes, "You don't need that. It's stupid. You're never going to need that in the real world." What they mean is the adult isn't confident with that subject themselves, and so they aren't comfortable helping the child, because if I help the child with this and I don't know what I'm doing, the child's going to see that I don't know everything and they're going to think I'm stupid, so I'm not going to go near it. By having the adult literacy and numeracy classes, we can bring the parents up to a decent standard as well. We've also seen, and it's been proven worldwide, recidivism for that's people going back into prison. The ones that get an education in prison tend not to go back in. The ones that can get an education and a qualification in prison, when they get out, go into work. If you're disputing this, I would suggest you look up the company Timpsons, who you might know as being shoe repair or key cutters. They actually have a thing where they must hire a certain percentage, must be ex-cons, people coming out of prison, because the son of the Timpson founder did a speech in prison, and they said, when you get out, no one hires you because you've been in prison. He told his dad, the guy who founded Timpsons, he then said, right across the board, we must start hiring people that are getting out of prison. So if you can stop people getting into crime to begin with, it's easier than getting them in crime and then trying to adjust them and get them rehabilitated. It's easier to stop it at the core. It's easier to stop it at the start, rather, than it is to change them afterwards. Prevention is easier than cure. So these things are really easy. There's a PDF that I'm going to try and make available. Again, I haven't been able to get this off the ground anywhere. I am going to send it out to different communities. If you in your community are interested in it, I'm happy to send you all the research I've done on it. I'm happy to send you the full report. If you can get it going where you are, that's absolutely fantastic. The idea of this was, once this was a success here in Cheshire, I was going to send it out to the rest of the world and make it available online anyway, so that everybody can implement it in their own communities. It's absolutely ridiculous that in Cheshire there was an announced £2.5 million for safer streets, to make the streets safer, anti-crime. Anti-crime is making sure the kids don't get into crime to begin with. Anti-crime is taking the people who might not have the best qualifications in their adult life to get a proper job. Crime is easy, they're going to go back to it. I think what happens with these community initiatives when they say there's money for this, they need to be seen doing something. So I think if I pitched, we're going to get a whole bunch of security workers in a uniform with the badge and the beret, and we're going to patrol the streets at night, that probably would have got money. But to actually do something that is proven to work around the world to help people, that won't. I, of course, big fan of Ken Shamrock and Frank Shamrock. Both guys have emailed me back and forth about this initiative. They've both said it will work, you just need to get government funding and get the government on board. If you in your community, if you are a parent or just a member of the community, a member of the public, if you are a member of local government anywhere and you're interested in this, get in touch and I'll send you the PDF. I'll send you all the research I've done. I've gathered information from all around the world, looking at after-school clubs, looking at homework clubs, looking at kids' charities, looking at prison authorities and prison charities and the like. All this stuff that goes towards proving this works if you do it. Again, children need rules, they need regulations, and if you give a kid a chance, they will thrive. They will beat your expectations. If you just put a kid down and go, well, they're wrong, then they're going to live down to your expectations. If you keep them, as Bob Shamrock said, if you keep them busy enough and tired enough, they don't get into trouble. If you do community outreach programs where you let this group of people clean the park, you let this group of people clean up the communal areas of the old people's home, if you let this group of people paint over the graffiti, If you give young people a sense of belonging where they feel that this is their town, then they don't smash the place up. You don't graffiti your own front door. You don't put through your own bedroom windows. So if you give people a sense that they've actually got some skin in the game, so to speak, that this is their town, this is their village, this is their city, they're not going to destroy it. There's going to be a sense of community pride where we're all in this together. We look out for one another. If you take away everything they've got and keep feeding them a bunch of lies, and they know they've got no future, they're going to be disenfranchised. They're not going to care. They're going to smash stuff up because it's the easiest, quickest way for them to have an impact on the world. Building something takes time. Destroying something you can do like that. So if I need to show that I'm here and you must acknowledge me, the easiest way for me to do that is just to break stuff. That's why that happens. It's creative energy that hasn't got a corral. It's not got a place to go. If you give people a place to go and something to do, they won't cause trouble. A lot of the times when it's crime from kids, it's either that they're trying to find somewhere they fit in, which is where grooming happens, because the gang says, we'll look after you, we'll protect you, we'll get you new stuff, we'll get you a phone, we'll get you trainers, we'll give you gifts. Then they say, I just need you to take this package across the city to a guy for me. And that's how it starts. I'm not a massive fan of soaps, but a few years ago, Coronation Street did a grooming storyline with the character Bethany. Spot on. I would put money on that they worked with actual charities that look after kids that have been groomed, or they've worked with the police. They've worked with somebody to do that storyline because the actual storyline progression, the ABC of it, was exactly how we would expect to see it for real. So kudos to them for doing that. But I would absolutely put money on that they worked with people who actually deal with that on a day-to-day basis for the way they portrayed it. And kudos to everyone involved for the portrayal of the acting from what little I saw of it. However, if we can keep them away from that, all the better. People going back into crime because they've come out of prison can't get work anywhere else. Well, what qualifications have they got? If they've got low qualifications in literacy and numeracy, if they can barely count, if they can barely read or write, then they're not going to get a job. So what are they going to do? They're going to go back on the rob. They're going to start breaking the law again. And it just goes round and round and round. And there's no point being in a situation where, well, we're trying to rehabilitate you to make you a better member of society and to be a upstanding member of your community. I don't give a shit about society. I don't give a shit about my community. They don't want me and I don't want them. Fuck them. And that's the mentality. That's what it keeps breeding. We have to show people that we're all in it together, that we do care, that this is your hometown. Be proud of it. Stop destroying the fucking place. We don't take from others. We don't do this. We don't do that. But you've got to give them a reason to believe in it. And if you don't believe in them, they won't believe in themselves. This is why it's important that if we've made it, if however far making it might be, you've got to give back. It's not going to cost a fortune. There's money in the pot. In every single community has money to afford to be able to do this. In terms of the teaching the martial arts aspect, in the proposal itself, I've written, I volunteer to do it. I'm not making money from doing this. If this gets off the ground, at no point do I receive a penny. This is purely for the sake of kids need somewhere to fucking go after school to keep them away from crime. For every quid you spend on a child today, you send $3,000 in future for arresting them, for taking them to court, for housing them in the jail while they wait to go to court, for then sentencing them, for then taking them to prison for however long they're in prison. By looking after the kids today and giving them somewhere to go after school, you clean up your streets because they're not littering the streets, they're not graffitiing the streets, they're not bringing down your house values. Because this is shit that some people need to hear because just doing something good for the kids isn't enough for a lot of people. So there's absolutely no downside to having an after-school homework club and athletic club for the kids. There's no downside to then having an adult literacy and adult numeracy class for people who need it. There's no downside to this. The community gets stronger, we keep people away from crime. Where's the harm? People get an education, people get qualified, and the crime rate drops. Why are we against this? So anyway, I'm hoping some people out there have watched all this. If you know of anybody who would be interested in this, if you know of anybody who would help this, if you know of anybody who is a retired teacher maybe that wants to give back. I mean, ideally it would be Monday through Friday, but it might only be 3 days a week. It might only be 2 days a week. I don't know. Anything is better than nothing at this point. So that's my little rant. Obviously, there's more details in the proposal that I've written. But if you are a teacher, if you know anything about this, please get in touch. Let me know why you think it wouldn't work, so that I can adjust that accordingly. So that as we go forward, I can make this as watertight as it can possibly be. Again, if you wherever you are, do something for your community. Volunteer once a week to go sit with an old person, or volunteer to do something. Just give back to your community in some way.